July 2020, in the middle of a pandemic, we all have to do what is necessary. Going back, in 2008, I was traveling in Ecuador and then was traveling on to Galapagos Islands of Archipelago in the Pacific Ocean. And during that time, I was feeling really cold and feeling a bit of cold. And to prevent, I actually use a face mask in the plane, traveling on the boat, transferring onto different islands. And again, to see all the little creatures in the ocean and on the islands, from lizards to turtles, I was wearing the mask. And that's only because I was responsible, didn't want to get other people catching my cold. And in the very fragile ecosystem, I didn't want to become a nuisance and getting worse my situation, so I kept my mask on. Anyway, the virus doesn't like the mask. Virus doesn't like the distance. And those are the two things that humans in their compulsions cannot maintain. Keep the mask on and keep a social distance in the community. These two things that humans can't achieve. So the virus is always winning, hands down. Isn't it time that we recognize the problem that we are as human beings up here? If you learn from our mistakes, the solution is to unlearn what we have learned and adopt what is new and which is the new norm. Put a mask on and stay a good enough distance from the others. If you can't, remain silent. Keep the mask on. Just practice these fundamentals until the virus has completely vanished. Even if it has, you simply do what is needed. And by doing so, we don't have to become prisoners again. We don't have to riot. We don't have to go into a social lockdown. We don't have to sacrifice our time and our freedom and our well-being. Just do what is needed. Simple. I have always said, we must all use what really works for us. If you really have to find a solution, we all have to do the same. We have to practice to find the solution in every problem we find ourselves in. Not create another one, not prolong the problem, not cause any further destruction and suffering and struggle and impedance on our lives. It's a simple rule. Keep the mask on, keep the distance, keep your hands washed. That's what we know with the virus. If you want to keep it aside, or keep it away from it instead of having to meet it and incorporate it into one of you. The virus, you keep it to a side. You practice to keep this mask on. And you can practice to keep the distance. You don't have to show up your full strength in front of another, move to a side. Let them be strong and carry on. All you have to do is just be a piece of life, understanding you're mortal. You also could carry it. You could be infected. And you could be ill. To avoid all of that, you stay and take a gentle, a wakeful life and live a more conscious and diligent and responsible life.